Hello everyone, this is Darius from Heaven's Store, and I'm joined here by Loa, who traveled all the way from Sweden to Berlin to ultimately win the Ultimate Time Wizard tournament, to win the Giant Card Caius. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You played?
I played Blackwings.
And pure Blackwings, yes. With some very interesting side cards, which we will also get in a second. How was your overall tournament experience?
My tournament was very, very good. I finished 7-1 in Swiss, and then I won throughout Top Cut. Most of my matches in Swiss were 2-0s, but in Top Cut I faced some more difficult opponents, so all of them actually took a game off of me. But yeah, I had a great tournament. It was super fun. The person who beat me in Swiss, I managed to beat him in Top Cut, so I got my revenge, and Giant Caius for the collection.
Amazing. Yeah. So let's get into the deck profile.
So for the monsters, I play 3 Sirocco, 3 Shura, 3 Bora, 3 Kalut, 3 Blizzard, 1 Gale, and 2 Vayus. It's pretty typical for the Blackwing monsters. Some people don't play the second one of this, but I like the second one in some matchups where you usually end up attacking over the monsters with Shura. Like recruiter decks, and especially in game 1, having the additional grind game is very nice, because some matchups do get you into the long game where you end up going Vayu and Sirocco to make the arm wing twice, and just having longevity with your whirlwinds. If you draw them later in the tournament, later in the game, you're able to still search off the whirlwind, potentially chain block the blizzard. People who main oppressions, they will take it out, so you don't really need to chain block the whirlwind with the oppression in games 2 and game 3, but I really like the 2 in the main deck.
Very interesting. I did film already another Blackwing profile from top 8 who only mained 1 because he didn't like working on it, but thank you for your insights.
It comes out a lot that I'm going second because you want to have other cards instead, and those are the games you lose where you go second because you're already behind. And the faster decks like Dragon Turbo, you're not going to grind, so there's no reason to play 2. And then the 1 Dark Arm Dragon.
Above average card.
Yeah, very good card. For the spell cards, 2 Whirlwind, 1 Heavy, other Brain Con and Space. I didn't main Mind Con because I felt there was going to be a lot of people playing around it just by setting their Vayus instead of Raikou turn 1. And it's not really good going first. So if I'm drawing it going first against a fast deck, I have a dead card in my hand, and you already have a bunch of dead cards like this and Sirocco, so you can usually get, those are the games you lose, where you draw 2 or 3 cards that end up being dead turn 1, and they steamroll you by pushing down on you because they realize you're playing Blackwings. And the way they win is if the game ends fast. If it goes into a long game, I'm usually winning because I'm drawing whirlwinds, I'm getting my searches, I'm getting +1 every single turn, every monster is a gadget. So I just wanted to be able to get out of the early game as fast as possible and get my engine rolling. So none of those dead cards in the main deck. For the traps, I played 3 Icarus, 4 the draw traps. I felt 4 was the best ratio because you don't want to draw a draw trap off of a draw trap, but you always want to see at least one of them, especially going first, so you can bluff set your other back rows to keep them safe. And as I mentioned before, you really want to get into the later games, and when you're able to set multiple back rows, they have to respect you. Like if you set 3 back rows, even if 2 are draw traps, they can't blindly commit, because if you do have the Icarus or the Torrential Mirror first and they overcommit, they lose that way anyway. So being able to protect my life points essentially by forcing them to play slower with the draw traps is very good.
And also the 1 Jar of Greed, you know, we saw the American list with like 3 Jar of Greed even, and it puts your opponent in a difficult spot where he doesn't know how many you're playing, so just seeing the 1 is really bad for his mental maybe sometimes.
Yeah, you could argue playing more jars, but there was already a bunch of people who were doing like this, playing 3 jars and 1 legacy to bait them into playing, thinking play 6, because legacy is obviously a better card.
Yeah.
But I felt most people would be expecting that, and the mind game you get off it's kind of fake. But if you're playing against frogs and they have either Darkness Spirit or the Hinu Kusage Kuchi that draws 5 cards, I'd rather have legacy so I can just draw 2.
Yeah. Strictly better card.
Yeah. And then 2 Bottomless, 3 Prison. Always want to draw this card to protect my life points and get into the long game. Mirror Force, Torrential, and Dust Shoot. I don't main Solemn because a lot of the games that you lose is when you draw Solemn early. It's one of those cards that you don't really want to Solemn too early because you're paying 4K.
Yeah.
It's better if you can pay maybe 2K and protect your place. But with the draw traps, you're able to get into the long game where you have enough resources to where if they're able to stop you, you have other traps to protect your life points. And one of the worst matchups is Amaryllis, and you really don't want to be paying 4K against that deck, especially in game 1.
And a card I didn't see in the main deck just now was Oppression.
Yeah, I don't main Oppression, I don't main Deck Devi. Those cards are very, very good. However, I expected a lot of Frogs, Vayu, and Blackwings. And Deck Devi, while being good against Vayu and Frogs, and okay in the mirror too, because you can hit the Kalutes, it's another one of those cards that you can break on. Like if you go second, they're starting to play. You don't want to Deck Devi them if they have Shura Whirlwind, for example. It's in my side deck because it's very good against those decks when you go first, and certain other decks where you're able to capitalize on them having a lot of low attack monsters. And no Oppression because it's not good against any of the top 3 decks in my opinion.
Fair.
So for the side deck, I'll play 2 Crows. Pretty typical for a lot of the decks. I usually don't side this against like Vayu or Frogs because it ends up not doing enough, but it's really good against Dragon Turbo, Christia Sworn, or those decks where you really need to hold cards in hand, because when they go for their push with Trunade or Heavy or maybe Cold Wave, you really want to be able to have a card in your hand that's safe from those sweepers, especially against Dragon Turbo because they just draw their entire deck. So yeah, mainly for those decks. 2 Banishers. This card came in clutch in the top 4. The Fury was really good against Amaryllis because they go summon Titanial, summon Amaryllis in their end phase. You go summon Banisher, attack over the Amaryllis, it gets banished. You don't take any burn damage and they lose the resource. Then you use any of your other traps, Prison, Mirror Force, to protect it against Titanial. And they're stuck under a Banisher. Also against Recruiter decks like XA Burst, Fairies, Zombies, it's absolutely phenomenal. Also beats Consecrated Light because it's a light monster himself. So.
Which I did see in the top 4 match. I was looking over your shoulder and you did win through that.
It was a very good card in that matchup.
Do you side it versus Frogs as well? Just to okay.
Because if they play heroes, they can just attack over. For pure Frogs, I'd probably side it.
Okay.
And then 1 system down. I don't play Sidra because I'd have to commit an extra deck slot, and I wanted to play 2 Armor Masters. That was the decision. And Machina isn't that bad of a matchup for this deck. It's worse for Vayu, just because their arm ring is 23 and Machina Fortress being 25 attacks over it. And they side Iron Wall, so you can't really side system down in Vayu. But with Blackwings, I can just side system down, and it beats them going like Compulse back their gear frame to play on Cyber Dragon. And then they can almost summon it again, search, and can Contact Fuse my Sidra away. I can just system down their entire graveyard, so Avarice is dead, hopefully, and they lose all their resources on the board. I didn't play Machina, but I wanted to have 1 card against them if I played them. 1 skill drain for GBs and like Lightsworn mainly. 1 Road. This comes in if I play against Blackwing players who are less experienced. I noticed against Batel in the finals, when I played him in Swiss, he perfectly read my road and played around it. So I didn't take it in against the finals when I played him again. But if I expect them to be a little bit newer to the format, perhaps they dropped out of the main event that their friend lent them a Blackwing deck, I'm not expecting them to be at the top of their game. So they might run into a Starlight Road that might be obvious to an experienced player, but they might just Icarus my back row and I can road and just auto-win the game. Also against GBs and Lightsworn. 1 Transmigration Prophecy. This has been popping up recently. It's very good against Frogs because you can hit the Treeborn and the heroes to turn off Miracles, so it has dual uses. The Crow only works if they only have 1 of those, but if you have 2, you need this card, so it's way better.
Good against Amaryllis as well. Machina has many
I don't put this in against Amaryllis though, because they have the Amaryllis on the board, so I still have to deal with that one. And Titanial is mainly the problem, not Amaryllis.
That's very true.
But yeah, I liked it a lot. 1 Deck Devi and 2 Oppressions.
Okay.
I kind of contemplated on playing 2 Deck Devi, 1 Oppression, because they usually come in against the same matchups, like any combo deck where I want to really shut them out of the game. But I figured oppression might be better because, again, I expected some players maybe to not be too adjusted to the meta, and they might play into it too heavily. They might not play around it properly. And I also prefer this card against some of the faster decks as opposed to deck heavy, because I have Icarus in this deck. So I already have 3 cards that tribute my monsters, and I'd rather have a card that I can put on the field, and if they try to commit into it, that I can gain value, and if it goes into the long game, it's the card that will continuously give me advantage, and unless they deal with it. 2 Dust. I didn't main it because I don't think it's good enough in the main deck, but you need it for the mirror match to hit their whirlwind. And 2 Pulling against frogs mainly.
Very interesting.
Extra deck is very standard, I can just show it.
But double Armor Master, as you mentioned, because of course the double value.
This never came up the second one, but I just wanted to have the second one in case it comes up. I didn't want to randomly lose the game just because I didn't have it. What usually people play is the Chimeric Fortress Dragon. That ends up being the 15th card instead of this, or perhaps this. But since they didn't play Cyber Dragon, they would have to summon a Cyber Dragon and a machine themselves. I hope people would not be foolish enough to do that against Blackwings, so I didn't play it. And it was great. Mistworm come up a couple of times. Thought Ruler too. But this one was cuttable, I guess.
Understood. Okay. What are your overall thoughts on the tournament and Blackwings in the current meta?
So I mainly play current, but I've been dabbling in Edison for the past few years because I enjoy the old cards, and I'm a fan of playing Time Wizard when I think the format in current is not as fun anymore. That's why I only played this format instead of the main event today and yesterday. I think Blackwing is the best deck for one of these kind of tournaments. It reminds me of Tempai in current, where your games are usually very fast and it's fairly straightforward at a fundamental level. And then, of course, just understanding the game as a whole and playing well goes into it, but you don't go into time, and it not being overtly complicated helps when you're playing 10, 11, 12 rounds. Especially now, since there was an explosion here, we had to wait an additional 2 hours to play the top 4, so it's getting kind of late here. Being pretty exhausted in that, so it helped playing something where I can just comfortably play on my fundamentals and not have to think too much about things that are outside of the game. Because Blackwing is a pretty straightforward deck. You're playing face up, you're just attacking into their cards.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations once again on the Giant Card Caius. Will it go to your home on a...
It will be hanged up on the wall somewhere.
Perfect.
I cannot sell it.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations once again. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we will see you guys with a few other deck profiles as well. And until then, play Edison, have a great time, and see you then. Bye-bye.